I didn't think a truck this sharp, angular, and just alien could actually work in real life. A month in, and the Cybertruck isn't just a stunt. It's a surprisingly usable daily driver. Somehow Tesla managed to make a vehicle that looks like a prop from a sci-fi set and functions like a real pickup. It's loud in design, but quiet in the cabin. It's absurdly fast, but smooth over bumps. And it's weirdly addictive to drive. So here's my take 1 month behind the wheel and nearly 3,500 miles, what's brilliant, what's frustrating, and why this might change how we view trucks. When the initial shock of owning something this different wears off, you start noticing the details that actually make it work. The Cybertruck isn't just strange for the sake of being strange. There's a method to the madness. Once you get past the stainless steel and the sharp lines, it starts feeling less like a stunt and more like a well-engineered tool. The thing is, it feels like a vehicle that shouldn't exist, yet here it is, fully tangible and functional. The stainless steel exterior, the sharp lines, the aggressive vibe, it's chaotic, bold, and unapologetic. And somehow, despite all that wildness, it's actually practical. I've navigated city streets, squeezed into tight garages, and loaded up the bed with gear, and it just works. I expected a lot of compromises. A truck that looked incredible, but was awkward or impractical, but it's surprisingly livable. It has this uncanny ability to straddle the line between being utterly futuristic and actually usable. What blows me away the most is how it balances spectacle with function. It's comfortable, surprisingly easy to maneuver despite its size, and genuinely fun to drive. I catch myself experimenting with the steering, testing the adaptive suspension, and just enjoying how capable it feels in every scenario. Even the small details, like the massive windshield giving a commanding view of the road, or the way the bed and the frunk handle daily tasks, it adds to that this actually works feeling. Every time I get behind the wheel, I'm reminded that this isn't just a flashy showpiece. It's a truck from the future, and I get to live with it every single day. And honestly, that's a feeling that doesn't get old. It's not perfect. There are quirks, compromises, and a learning curve. But that's part of what makes it fascinating. Owning a Cybertruck is like living with a rolling experiment that somehow nailed both audacity and utility. It's a reminder that sometimes the future doesn't arrive quietly. It shows up with stainless steel, sharp angles, and a grin, daring you to see it can really live up to the hype. And here I am, a month in, still grinning. Seeing the Cybertruck in person is a completely different experience than looking at photos. The stainless steel body is sharp, bold, and unapologetically wild. Every angle feels sculpted to grab attention, and it's definitely a love it or hate it kind of design. Some people call it ugly, while others see it as a modern piece of art, but I can't deny it makes a statement. Fit and finish are surprisingly solid, panel gaps are minimal, and the tailgate feels sturdy, and the vault or the tonneau cover glides smoothly. That said, living with stainless steel means fingerprints and smudges are a constant battle. A good ceramic coating definitely makes life easier. It basically adds a sacrificial layer on top of the stainless steel that not only protects it, but also makes it easier to clean and maintain. I actually made a video recently showing step-by-step how to properly ceramic coat a Cybertruck. Now the prep process is nothing like a regular vehicle. Barkeeper's Friend is part of the polishing. And if you're curious, I've linked the full walkthrough in the description below. Despite feeling massive at first glance, the truck is easier to maneuver than I expected. The combination of its giant windshield, cameras, and thoughtful visibility design makes tight spots way less intimidating. And when it comes to practicality, it does not disappoint. The frunk is enormous, and the 6-foot bed fits into standard garages. It's proof that beneath all the futuristic design, this is a vehicle built to actually work in the real world. What keeps me coming back is how the design manages to feel both extreme and purposeful at the same time. The angles and edges look like something from a concept car, but every detail, whether it's the tailgate, the vault, or the integrated outlets in the bed, has a reason behind it. It's chaotic and aggressive on the outside, but underneath it's surprisingly thoughtful, and I really appreciate that balance. Stepping inside the Cybertruck feels like stepping into the future. The cabin is minimalist, clean, and almost like a concept car that somehow made it to production, but it's surprisingly premium in execution. I love the mix of synthetic leather and durable composites because it gives the interior a rugged, purposeful feel without making it feel cheap. It's a space that works for daily driving, but also ready for longer trips or adventures. The seats are firm but supportive, hitting a sweet spot that makes long drives comfortable without feeling soft or flimsy. Now the rear seats are actually more spacious than I expected, with a flat floor and plenty of headroom. It actually makes the back a genuinely usable space for adults or kids, which is rare for a truck this size. Now visibility is mostly excellent thanks to the massive windshield, though I do notice sun glares at times and the thick A-pillars create some blind spots. But overall, the view is still much better than I anticipated. Now tech is everywhere as you'd expect from Tesla. The central touchscreen controls nearly everything, and the rear screen lets passengers manage the HVAC and media settings. The sound system is surprisingly punchy with deep bass that makes even short drives feel cinematic. Little practical touches like the doors opening full 90 degrees and the vault cover really highlight how this isn't just a futuristic showpiece. It's designed to be lived with. Every time I climb in, I'm reminded that Tesla actually thought about how people are going to use a truck every day. One of the first things I noticed about the Cybertruck is just how solid it feels. After a month of real-world use, the cabin and the body are still completely rattle-free, and everything feels genuinely well assembled. Tesla clearly put care into the fit and finish, and it shows. Sure, early service visits are fairly common, mostly minor delivery issues, but in my experience, they were all handled quickly under warranty, and nothing made me question the truck's overall build quality. The adaptive air suspension is a game changer. I can switch between entry, low, medium, and high ride heights depending on the situation, and it keeps the ride smooth and comfortable even on all-season tires. Driving around town, over bumps, or even on rougher surfaces, the suspension does a remarkable job at balancing comfort and control. And despite all the hype about the stainless steel and rust, I haven't had any real concerns. Yes, surface contaminants like brake dust or industrial fallouts can build up, but they clean off really easily with the right products. I went the extra step and ceramic coated my entire truck, which not only protects the finish, but also makes it easier to maintain that mirror-like shine over time. Products like Iron X are great for removing deposits, and overall, the Cybertruck feels like a truck that's built to last. It's durable, practical, and engineered thoughtfully from top to bottom. Driving the Cybertruck is unlike anything I've ever experienced. The steer-by-wire system combined with independent rear steering completely changes how the truck moves. At low speeds, it feels almost like a sports car. I can make tight turns, weave through city streets, and slip into crowded parking spots with ease. At highway speeds, it's stable and planted with minimal body roll, giving me a ton of confidence whether I'm cruising or towing. And then there's the acceleration. I still can't get over it. This is nearly 7,000 pounds and it rockets from 0 to 60 in about 4.1 seconds. The instant torque, precise steering, and the all-wheel drive traction makes it feel far more nimble than its size would suggest. What could easily be a cumbersome, lumbering truck actually feels engaging and fun to drive, which is something I honestly did not expect. The suspension is another highlight. It's firm enough that you feel in control, but smooth enough to absorb bumps comfortably, even in all-season tires. Visibility can be a little tricky with the large A-pillars and the lack of a full 360-degree camera, but the massive windshield and reliable front and rear cameras make parking and maneuvering far less intimidating than I anticipated. Every time I get behind the wheel, it's a reminder that the truck doesn't just move people or cargo, it actually makes driving exciting. One of the first things you notice when driving a Cybertruck is just how quiet it is. Despite its massive size and all-terrain potential, road and wind noise are kept to a minimum. Even at highway speeds, the cabin feels remarkably calm, giving you the impression that you're gliding rather than barreling down the road. The tires surprisingly don't add too much to the noise, which helps maintain that serene atmosphere. The suspension contributes heavily to this refined experience. It's firm enough to handle the truck's weight and maintain control, yet it absorbs bumps and imperfections in the road gracefully. Even with all-season tires, the ride is smooth, and with off-road tires, they can feel a bit harsher, but they deliver a ruggedness that's useful without being overly jarring for daily driving. Finally, the only sound that reminds you this is an EV is a faint hum from the electric motors. Beyond that, the cabin feels isolated and insulated, comparable to luxury SUVs. For a vehicle that looks like it could be a sci-fi prop, the ride and the noise levels are surprisingly sophisticated, making every journey feel controlled, quiet, and unexpectedly refined. The Cybertruck's tech is a showcase of Tesla's futuristic vision, starting with a massive central 18.5-inch touchscreen. It's fluid, responsive, and remarkably intuitive, with almost no lag controlling nearly every function in the cabin. A smaller rear screen handles HVAC, media, and seat settings, keeping passengers connected and comfortable without cluttering the minimalistic interior. Cameras are crystal clear, making parking a breeze, and the phone as a key system works reliably every time. That said, the tech isn't flawless. The rear view mirror is nearly useless when the tonneau is closed, and there's no active autopilot system like you get in all the other Teslas. You have to purchase FSD if you want any sort of autonomous driving, or you're left with traffic-aware cruise control, which is pretty much useless. Despite these quirks, the Cybertruck's tech ecosystem feels polished, practical, and undeniably futuristic, perfectly matching the truck's bold sci-fi exterior. Full self-driving supervised works impressively well, providing smooth, natural control in many scenarios. That said, like I mentioned earlier, there's still no base autopilot included like in all the other Tesla vehicles. And if you want true autonomous capabilities, you're gonna have to fork up $8,000 for FSD. Now, FSD can significantly reduce fatigue on long trips, making highway driving much more relaxing. However, the cost of FSD or the subscription model may not make sense for every owner, especially those who don't plan to rely heavily on autonomous features. Overall, the software and driver assistance systems enhance the Cybertruck's practicality. In real-world conditions, the Cybertruck delivers a highway range of around 270 miles at 80 miles per hour, while mixed city and highway driving can push it up to 310 to 320 miles. For reference, my Cybertruck right here with the all-season tires is rated for 325 miles. For a nearly 7,000-pound vehicle, these numbers are impressive and show that Tesla's efficiency claims hold up outside of ideal conditions. Energy consumption on average is about 370 watt-hours per mile for me, which is surprising for a truck this size and weight. Supercharging is straightforward and practical, and is fast enough to get me back on the road quickly, typically in about 10 to 20 minutes at a supercharger. The combination of efficient energy use and accessible charging infrastructure makes the Cybertruck viable for both daily commuting and longer road trips. Regen braking is strong and intuitive, making one-pedal driving feel natural, helping maximize range. The heat pump works efficiently in cold weather, maintaining a cabin comfort without any major drain on the battery. Overall, the Cybertruck balances performance, energy, and range in a way that's practical for real-world ownership, not just numbers in a headline. Now let's talk about the ugly truths, because for some people these can be deal breakers. Even with all of its strengths, the Cybertruck definitely has its quirks. I was expecting visibility to be a real issue, but it's actually pretty good thanks to the giant windshield and the cameras all around. That said, the massive A-pillars can block your view on steep uphill turns, so I just pull up the front camera to be safe. There is no true 360-degree camera, just a visualization on the left-hand side of the screen, but honestly, I barely use that and rely on the actual camera feeds when parking. Now, I've had 2 service visits so far, which is crazy for a brand new truck. The first one was for 6 separate issues, for example, a leaking tonneau, a cracked piece at the bottom of the windshield, a few alignment problems, and a different sort of other issues that I had as well. Now, they addressed all of these issues except for the leaking tonneau, which they were not able to fix on the first service visit. And I also made a detailed video highlighting these 6 issues that I had, and I went in depth on that, and that video is linked in the description below if you're interested. Now, the second service visit was for the leaking tonneau again, and they slightly improved it with less water coming in, but it's still not fully watertight. Tesla said it's not going to be watertight, but it's actually more water than other people have online. And I might just do a DIY fix, and I'll document that and film a video showing you guys how to make your truck bed watertight. Stuff like this reminds me that even a high-profile, expensive Tesla isn't immune to early production quirks. There are also smaller annoyances that stick with you every day. As I mentioned earlier, the rear view mirror is basically useless when the vault cover is closed, so I rely entirely on the cameras to see behind me. And like I also mentioned earlier, there's no autopilot. That is a big annoyance. If you want any sort of autonomous driving, you're going to have to pay for FSD if you want the hands-off driving to lessen the burden on long road trips or just everyday driving. Now, when I did drop my Cybertruck off for service, they gave me a Cyberbeast Foundation series as a loaner, and that one had the off-road tires. And in my testing, the off-road tires I found to be less comfortable than the all-season tires on my Cybertruck, and that is a slight annoyance if you want that sort of ruggedness, but there's a trade-off right there. So you get that cool look and also off-road capability, but you sacrifice a little bit of comfort. You got to see if that trade-off is worth it for you when purchasing a Cybertruck with the off-road tires. Now, none of these quirks or annoyances ruin the Cybertruck for me. It's definitely stuff to know before you dive in. The Cybertruck manages to be both a spectacle and a surprisingly capable daily driver. It's a kind of vehicle that turns heads everywhere you go, yet behind the wheel it delivers a ride, handling, and performance that exceeds expectations for a truck this size. The combination of steer-by-wire, adaptive suspension, and all-wheel drive makes it feel nimble, stable, and confident, while the quiet cabin and innovative utility features adds a layer of refinement rarely seen in full-size pickups. Of course, it isn't perfect. The software sometimes feels unfinished. Full autopilot is not here yet for the Cybertruck, and the Cybertruck is still waiting for full self-driving version 14 to be released when it has been released to all the other Teslas at the time of this recording. And there are also minor usability quirks, like the A-pillar blind spots, a useless rear view mirror when the vault is closed, and a few early service fixes for things like the tonneau cover leaking. On top of that, the price is still a little too high, which puts it out of reach for many buyers. But for those who value uniqueness, cutting-edge technology, and a glimpse of the future in automotive design, the Cybertruck is hard to beat. Its bold, unconventional style and advanced capabilities make it a truck that's fun to own as it is to drive, an experience that feels unlike anything else on the road today. Let me know what you guys think about the Cybertruck in the comments down below. Do you love it? Do you hate it? What is holding you back from getting a Cybertruck? Also, be sure to drop a like and subscribe to my channel. And as always, I'll catch you guys in the next one.